I suppose we should have thought to have a fanfare here, but you'll just have to imagine it, because just over an hour ago, the long-awaited Crossrail train left Abbey Wood Station, embarking on its very first journey along the new Elizabeth line.
The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has described it as the most significant addition to our transport network in decades. And he joins us now. Very good morning to you, Sadiq Khan.
Morning.
It's awfully over budget, isn't it? To the tune of £4 billion.
Well, Susanna, you've interviewed me many times over the last 6 years as mayor. Never before have I been this happy. Look, this is an amazing new railway line going through our city. It starts in Reading in Berkshire, goes all the way to Shenfield in Essex, through our great city, the heart of our city. There are 10 stations in the heart of our city. They're like underground cathedrals. Her Majesty the Queen opened this formally last week. It's called the Elizabeth Line, and it is transformative. We've already, created more than 70,000 jobs around the country during the construction phase. This will contribute £42 billion a year towards our national economy. The trains are made in Derby, the doors for the station in Cheshire, the signage in the Isle of Wight, the steel came from Dorset. You're not going to stop me smiling, Susanna.
All right. We wouldn't dream of trying to do that. Why would we do that? Why is it so big? I mean, you say the stations are like cathedrals, and they are, and the tunnel is much bigger than the regular tube tunnels. The trains are about twice as long. Why was it decided to do everything on a huge scale?
It's to future-proof it, Richard, because obviously our city's growing, but also don't forget this connects our financial centres with international gateways. So, for example, we don't just want to improve transport links and improve connectivity, we've got to increase our capacity as well. So the transport capacity in the heart of our city will increase by more than 10%. Really important as our city grows and as people come towards London, but also actually in the aftermath of a pandemic, when you want to keep your social distance, what better way to give people confidence to come back than these spacious, air-conditioned walk-through trains and these amazing stations as well.
All right, there's a big smile on your face this morning. I doubt there's a big smile on Boris Johnson's face this morning. You've seen the pictures. We've all seen the pictures that were first aired on ITV News last night. We know now that at least one person at this particular party, that the photographs are concerned, has been fined. So the police do regard it as a party, an illegal party. Are you surprised that Boris Johnson hasn't been fined?
Look, I am. Can I just say this, though? It's really important to reassure your viewers. I've been assiduous as the Police and Crime Commissioner, as the Mayor of London, as a political opponent of Boris Johnson, not to get involved at all in the police investigation, because it'd be improper for me to seek to interfere with the police investigation. But I think about what I thought when I saw the photograph yesterday for the first time. I couldn't understand how somebody literally raising a glass, there's bottles of booze lying around, it's clearly a party atmosphere, isn't breaking the law. And I know your viewers will be asking similar questions, scratching your heads, bearing in mind many of your viewers were meticulous in following the rules. We'll be asking the question, how is it that a fine wasn't issued? I believe our policing by consent model is really important. I believe it works by us having confidence in the police. And that's why I think it's important for the Met Police Service to explain how they reach their conclusions, because otherwise it has an impact on the public's confidence in how we police.
Well, that's interesting. So you are the Police and Crime Commissioner for the area covered by the Metropolitan Police. What powers do you have to compel transparency in the investigation? You say you don't want to interfere with it. It's now finished. What can you now do?
Well, spot on, Susanna. So now the investigation's finished, I can and I am asking the police to provide clarity urgently as to how they reached their conclusion. And the reason why it's important is, look, I've only seen the photograph yesterday that Paul Brand published on ITV. I haven't seen all the other evidence, nor have your other viewers. And that's why the police may have a perfectly good and rational explanation for why Boris Johnson hasn't received a fine for this. What I do know is Sue Gray will be publishing her report this week with the evidence and photographs. What I do know is Boris Johnson claimed in the House of Commons there wasn't a party when it appears to me there was. And that's why it's important for the police to provide that urgent clarity, and I'm asking them to do so.
What do you say to messages like this? And this is quite a significant tranche of messages that we've had on this programme this morning. We've had a lot of people criticising Boris Johnson, saying he has to go. But let me read out two, because these are quite typical of the other side of the coin. Gibbo on Twitter says, in capital letters, "No one cares anymore. Stop with this rubbish. A few pictures don't explain what was going on." Stephen on email, "Who cares? People were flaunting the rules all over the UK. Move on." A lot of those messages saying, we don't care anymore, move on. What would you say to people who feel like that?
It's really important when you speak to, as I do, bereaved families who couldn't say bye to their loved ones, when you speak to people who had funerals without going in person to the funerals, when you speak to people who couldn't celebrate big events, important events, because they were following the rules, to give them confidence that the next time they're asked to follow the rules, the rule makers won't be rule breakers. But also, look, we live in a civilised society here, Richard. We govern by consent, we police by consent. If the most powerful person in the country who's making the rules is breaking the rules, it impacts the very fabric of how we in a democracy, we in a civilised society live. It is important. Those of us in positions of power and influence are held to high standards. And when we appear to have broken the rules, there's a proper investigation and there's transparency. It does matter, because I think we've got to make sure that rule makers aren't rule breakers. The hypocrisy causes real questions. But let me see the really big issue in relation to the House of Commons. I was a parliamentarian for 11 years and I was a minister for a number of years, and I knew when you're at the dispatch box there's a rule that's really important. You can never mislead the House, because in a democracy you rely upon people who come to the dispatch box answering questions truthfully. That's why you're not allowed, according to the rules of the Speaker, to call another parliamentarian a liar, because you're supposed to be honourable people.
He lie?
It appears Boris Johnson misled the House.
So you think he should resign then?
Well, I think the evidence is quite obvious to those of us who've seen the photograph. Let's wait and see what Sue Gray publishes this week. Let's wait to hear what the Met Police's clarity is, and let's see what Boris Johnson has to say about that photograph.
OK, finally, Sadiq Khan, you said that you would ask the police to explain their reasons. Do you have the power to compel them to do that?
Well, look, the acting commissioner will be this week appearing before the London Assembly. I'm sure the Home Affairs Select Committee will be calling him and the senior team to answer questions, as indeed I will as well. But it's not good enough for me to privately receive those answers. The public need to know and deserve to know, because on a daily basis, people who watch, GMB
do you have the power
are asked
to
to follow the
compel
rules.
them? That's my question, because what if the Metropolitan Police say, we've done the investigation, it's closed, we're not going to reveal any more details? Then what?
I do, as the Police and Crime Commissioner. The point I was making, apologies for speaking across you, was it's not good enough for me to be reassured. Your viewers, the public, need to be reassured. OK, that's all we've got time for, I'm afraid. We'll let you get back to your entirely legitimate party. Make sure you use the line. Susanna, Richard, use this line. Okay. It's fantastic. You'll love it.
I can't wait to see it. I've read nothing but wonderful things about it. It's amazing. An amazing engineering achievement. We still do some things really well in this country. Thank you very much indeed.